4:30 in the morning on January 17th in Northridge. Nobody was expecting a giant 6.7 magnitude quake to hit. But then, the earthquake hit! And it destroyed some overpasses and killed a police officer as he was driving. This earthquake also moved many buildings, destroying cars and other personal items. Also, it sheared the front of the Kaiser Permanente Hospital straight off. Because of all this building movement and damage, it caused major gas line and water line breakage, causing fires to spread throughout the city. All this is caused because of a blind thrust fault under Northridge. A blind thrust fault is a fault that is under a city, so that you can only see it when there's seismic movement. This is a map showing the location of the earthquake. Now here I am to interview my mom at age 19. She was at age 19 when the earthquake hit.
Okay, to start, where were you when the earthquake struck?
Here's my mom.
In 1994, I was a student at UCLA, and I lived off campus in Westwood in an apartment on Veteran Avenue. UCLA is about 15 miles from Northridge. I was on the bottom bunk, asleep.
Next question. Can you please describe what happened during the quake?
Sure. The earthquake started very early in the morning, and I was asleep on the bottom bunk. And when it began to shake, it moved the bed so violently that my roommate, who slept on the top bunk, actually fell out of bed and onto the floor. And with all that shaking, it woke me up. We took a moment to figure out what was going on. Pretty quickly figured out there was a big earthquake happening. It felt like it shook for a really long time, and we made it over to the door frame of the bedroom because we had learned that was the safer place, right, to stand in a strong frame, and we waited for the quake to stop.
Okay, so were you scared when the earthquake hit?
I was scared, and I lived through several other smaller earthquakes growing up in Southern California, but this one was significantly larger. It felt like it shook for such a long time that I had enough time to realize that I was actually afraid. And as you know, there were so many aftershocks that it continued to shake throughout that early morning and into the next day that I was frightened. And I remember calling my parents and saying something like, if I die, I just want to let you know that I love you. So I was definitely concerned that this was a serious, dangerous event.
Okay, and after the shaking had stopped, what did you do?
Well, initially I tried to call my parents. Sometimes the lines were down because so many people were making outgoing phone calls that I couldn't get through for quite a while. I did talk to them eventually, and then when the sun came up in the morning, I wanted to leave that apartment. I didn't want to be in any buildings that could collapse on me because I had begun to hear stories about parking garages and other things collapsing. So I went out onto campus, and I went to the very flat intramural fields where the people play softball. And I decided that if the earth was going to open up and swallow me up, that was okay, but I didn't want to be inside any other buildings while they were shaking. So I spent a large portion of that day out on those flat, open fields, trying not to be surrounded by any high buildings.
Okay. So how did this earthquake change you emotionally and physically?
Physically, I didn't have any impact. We were all fine, and I didn't know anyone who was actually hurt personally. But emotionally, I was afraid for some time. The aftershocks continued, and I remember when classes reopened at UCLA, I would go into the classroom, and I always wanted to have a seat close to the exit, just in case an aftershock happened or a significant earthquake had happened. So that kind of fear was present in my mind for quite a time.
Okay, so what would you rate this earthquake on the Mercalli scale? By the way, the Mercalli scale is a scale used to describe the intensity of an earthquake's effects. However, unlike the other scales, this scale may vary from place to place due to how badly it was felt in that area. Here is my mom to tell you how she felt it on the Mercalli scale.
For the Mercalli scale, my experience was probably a 6. We had furniture move. That bunk bed definitely jolted and pushed my roommate into the middle of the floor. Later on, I discovered it was probably closer to a 7 at the epicenter. In fact, the house that we live in now, the staircase collapsed during that earthquake, but we didn't live here at the time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the eyewitness account of the earthquake, Mom. Now, to all the watchers out there, thank you for watching this presentation of the 1994 Northridge Earthquake. Now, Dylan Bale, signing off.